Today we're going to talk about when secondary fermentation gone bad. So secondary fermentation is actually one of the really important process of making a sparkling wine like champagne. Not all sparkling wine are made with secondary fermentation, but the best ones do. Fermentation is a very key process that all alcoholic beverage have to go through. It is very crucial in order to make our wine and our beer. To allow the yeast to convert and eat the sugar, because those are food for them, and convert it into alcohol. That is how the base for beer is made, and that's how most red and white wines are made. Secondary fermentation is after this process is complete, when they're doing it on purpose, like you see in champagne, is when the base white wine is made, and then they add additional sugar and additional yeast to allow, and then they bottle them to allow the yeast to work and start eating the sugar and converting it into alcohol again. Now, what happens in the case of champagne is they add the additional yeast and additional sugar, then they put them in a bottle. As the yeast is eating the sugar and producing the alcohol, part of the byproduct, the waste, is CO2. That's just what they produce. And in the case of champagne, we trap that in the bottle, and that's what gives us the bubble and what makes us really happy. Where in beer is a little bit different, and in Prosecco or other sparkling winemaking method, we don't actually put the bubble in the bottle by this really complicated secondary fermentation method. But in beer and in Prosecco and cheaper sparkling wine, those bubbles are then artificially injected into the bottle. So secondary fermentation is a very interesting process, but it is kind of a gentle touch. It takes a lot of effort and takes a lot of perfecting to get it exactly right. Champagne obviously went through hundreds of years of trying to perfect their method to get the right pressure, the right amount of bubble, and it's just a work of art. It's a lot to figure out. So let's go back to a question I have on one of our members. He mentioned that he was at a restaurant and he ordered a bottle of 2012 Dominus. And the sommelier told him that the bottle was slightly flawed because it has gone through secondary fermentation in the bottle, and he was curious what that meant. As we just give you the basic of what secondary fermentation is used for on purpose when it's meant to done in champagne. But now we're going to talk about what happens and why did it happen to that 2012 Dominus. It is an intricate dance between sugar and yeast when we're making alcohol. The yeast love the sugar and they eat it up and they produce byproduct, which is alcohol and CO2. And when we're making a regular red or white wine, those CO2 just kind of evaporate into the air. It's not trapped in the bottle like champagne. That's why there's no bubble in your finished white or red wine. I feel like the yeast lives a very unique, balanced life because it's happy eating the sugar, but at some point, its own waste, the alcohol it produced, will actually kill him. So the yeast dies off at some point. And here's the thing, when you have a bottle of wine that has very high sugar content and all the yeast actually die off before they can finish fermenting the sugar, that's when you're left with a wine that's slightly off dry. In this case of a 2012 vintage in Napa is one of the warmest year, and the wine from that vintage has some of the higher sugar content. So it's not surprising to me at all that a bottle of Dominus has some leftover sugar that was not fully converted through the fermentation process that got trapped in the bottle. And there is still some yeast that's left over too that might have either died off or stayed dormant through the process, but somehow in between the time when it was bottled and before you open them not too long ago, the yeast and the leftover sugar started reacting with each other again, and then they created more bubble and that slight bubbles inside of the red wine when you're not supposed to find bubbles. And the sommelier also gave a great tip. So when you do see that, one of the ways to get rid of it is just to decant it and let the CO2 that has been created in the bottle to dissipate, and you could enjoy the wine. However, in my experience, when secondary fermentation happens in a bottle of red wine that is not meant to happen, it does change the flavor profile and the overall mouthfeel of the wine. I have tasted wine where that was very severe in an entire batch of the wine, and the wine just wasn't good. So it really depends on the severity of the secondary fermentation in that red bottle of wine. So here you go. I hope it helped answer your question. Secondary fermentation, great and done on purpose when it's in a bottle of champagne. Not so great when you find it in a really expensive high-end wine that you purchase. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, feel free to hit a like button or share the video with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to my mailing list on angiesang.com, where I'll send you weekly recap of all the videos that we do and a lot of great wine deals that you won't find elsewhere. Drink responsibly and enjoyably. Cheers!